Yogendra Yadav, as someone who knows Rahul Gandhi well, you were part of the Bharat Jodo Yatra. Is that a problem? That in a way, his use of Hindi phraseology, the fact that perhaps he isn't the greatest parliamentary debater, all of this came to haunt him during this no confidence motion. And is 2024 going to be Modi versus Rahul?
First, the big picture, Rahul. Rajdeep. Election is about several things. It is about organizational stuff, as Pawanji has reminded us. It is about social coalition, as Ashok has rightly pointed out. For the moment, I'll just set that aside. I'll simply focus on the issue of the narrative that we are discussing here. The fact is that BJP has controlled the narrative for almost 7-8 years. And the fact is that over the last 1 year, its stranglehold over the narrative has loosened a bit. It started loosening with the Bharat Jodo Yatra. After that, it's the Adani issue that was raised, which made difference. Rahul Gandhi's disqualification and his re-entry has definitely loosened BJP's hold over communication, over the narrative. Karnataka elections, and then the formation of India itself. All these things have slightly loosened that narrative. Has this debate dramatically changed it? I'm not sure in either direction. I think the debate almost retained the situation as it was. I really would have wished that the whole country would notice that Manipur exists, that Manipur is burning, and that something needs to be done. The opposition did try to make it. I don't know how much of that registered in any case, because the Northeast does not figure quite centrally. So has this focus on Manipur change popular opinions about Modi government? I'm not sure. About the Bharat Mata expression, yes, I mean, if the question is whether Mr. Modi is more proficient in his speech than Rahul Gandhi, the answer is quite obvious. But I think the simple point, the language, the body language, I think the simple point that the idea of India was being murdered is a point that was made. Does that point change the nature of national debate? I don't know. I don't think. Unfortunately, focus on the Northeast may not do that. But it did register something limited. Would the BJP want it to become Modi versus Rahul? Of course, BJP would like to do that. The gap between Modi and Rahul may have reduced. That's my sense. Maybe polls will tell you more accurately. The gap may have reduced, but Mr. Modi definitely has an advantage. Can the opposition make it Modi versus Mudda? That really is the challenge for which the opposition needs to work in the coming month or so.
Interesting. Modi versus Mudda is what Yogendra says. Yogendra Yadav says should be the nature of the battle for the opposition. But Harsh Madhusudan, do you see elections in India becoming presidential, as in a way this no confidence motion was, at least on news TV and on the digital media? It was always who won the debate. Did Modi win it? Rahul Gandhi win it? Modi, obviously Mr. Modi, the much more charismatic performer, speaker in parliament. Do you believe that makes a difference? Is that how you think people will see the no confidence motion, and beyond that, the next few months leading into the general election, who should be my prime minister? We had a parliamentary system, 543 MPs.
I think, Rajdeep, yes, I think the nature of modern media and modern politics is leading to more decisive mandates, which is another way of saying presidential elections. I think, but that is only one aspect of it. I mean, the Modi versus Mudda phraseology of Yogendra, I think it's just slightly off in the sense that that is exactly what was missing from the opposition's point of view. So if you take a step back and look at the big picture, this is the year India is hosting G20. It is also heading SCO, I believe. We've just come out of a terrible pandemic, and India has done better than most people expected in terms of vaccination. The Prime Minister is speaking of becoming the world's third largest economy within his third term. So that's both a policy aim as well as political confidence. And he mentioned, for example, that if you think it will not happen, please mention why. If you think it can happen faster, please help us why. If you think something else can be done. But nowhere in any of the debates was anything pertaining to the average person of the country was mentioned as a policy idea by the opposition. So if somebody is looking and they're thinking, okay, well, they just want to be in power, but what do they have in store for me? Remember Rahul Gandhi, who's the de facto unofficial leader of the Congress party, maybe the India Alliance or not, it's difficult to say at this point. He's not been a chief minister. He's never been a union minister. There is no Gujarat model or even Kerala model or any model that he can speak of as his USP if he effectively comes to power. So then what really changed? I don't think the gap between Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Rahul Gandhi or any opposition figure has changed. On the topic of Bharat Mata, I think it's very interesting that Bharat Mata Ki Jai is increasingly seen as a Hindutva or a BJP slogan. At the same time, there is this kind of last moment rush to reappropriate that slogan, which at one point somebody like Indira Gandhi would have been very happy to say. And unfortunately, that has completely gone to the BJP from the point of view of the opposition. And this last moment search will not really change anything. And finally, I'd like to simply say that on that point, for example, Mahua Mitra of Trinamool said she was ashamed that, religious priests or seers of the majority faith is the word she used, where the Prime Minister bowed down to them in the inauguration of the new parliament. Now, this is the same party alliance grouping that is completely against secular common laws, but they are against a simple symbolic recognition of India's civilizational continuity. That, oh my God, how can the Prime Minister actually bow down in front of these adhinams from Tamil Nadu? And she specifically mentioned from the majority faith, implying as if it was a minority faith, it would have been fine with her. And therefore, when you leave out the majority completely and you almost viscerally attack them, when you leave out Bharat Mata until the last moment, and then you feel it's a mudda or it's a presidential election, the simple point is for the last 9 years, the opposition has left the center. Okay. And the Prime Minister is making hay while the sun is shining.
Well, the sense I got about what Mahua Moitra said was the fact that the Prime Minister is often absent in Parliament, doesn't speak out enough in Parliament, but gives the photo ops when the new Parliament was inaugurated, bowing before religious figures. But yes, you could also argue that she was referring to majority faith. I don't think she was necessarily going to support him bowing before a minority faith. But Yogendra Yadav, before I go to Patricia Mukim, let's settle this narrative point. You said Modi versus Mudda. Is part of the problem that the opposition should do, is part of the problem that as long as Rahul Gandhi is there, leading the opposition and is seen as a mascot now for anti-Modi forces, willy-nilly it will be Modi versus Rahul again. Even if the opposition wants to make it Modi versus Mudda, it won't become that.
Rajdeep, if Rahul Gandhi were to disappear tomorrow, what will it be? Will it immediately become Modi versus Mudda? Then it will be Modi versus a question mark. Again, the same thing would be played out. So the real question is, how much of the election would be focused on the personality issue? And yes, on the personality issue, BJP has an advantage which I think is lessening, but it has an advantage. And the opposition needs to play it, whether it has the time. I do think they have the time. I do think opposition needs to speeden up things, but I don't think it's so late that nothing can be done about the narrative so far. Yes, the mudda issue, the real issues of unemployment, issues of price rise, and the most important thing about Adani, which was played out by the Congress, Rahul mentioned it, but over the last few months it's kind of petered off. Can the opposition bring that back? These are the questions that we need to talk about. But yes, as long as it remains personality, whether it's Modi versus Rahul, Modi versus Nitish, Modi versus Mamata, I don't think it will be very different. Do you think it will become very different? Suddenly, if tomorrow it were to be Modi versus Nitish, will the entire nation swing in favor of the India coalition? I doubt it. Similar things would be raised.